Welcome back. In this video you're going to be learning the basic strokes for the orchid for our Sumi-e painting lesson. The orchid, like we said in the PowerPoint, is all about an elegant curving line. Again, we're looking at thick versus thin. This has to do with the pressure of the brush, the direction of the stroke of your brush, and we're looking for those small curved petals, or the idea of the implied line. So to get started, you're going to need a checklist like this. Please write your name at the top of it and your homeroom teacher. By the end, you'll have a little collection of each skill that you'll staple together and kind of present to me. And once you've finished all of the skills on this list, then you can move on and create your final orchid flower composition that will look, something like this after you get done with it. And I'll have this one hanging up in class. Okay, so to get started, the things that you're going to need to learn about are, number one, the long continuous orchid leaf bending to one side or the other, the long continuous orchid leaf with the implied line or the continuation of idea, the two orchid leaves crisscrossing to create the eye of the phoenix, the orchid bud just opening with 2 to 4 small petals, and the orchid flower fully opening with 5 petals pointing in any direction, up, down, either way, and then the orchid flower with a sectioned stem flowing downward. So you're going to have at your table 2 packets that I've made up about the orchid. It should have the front page. It'll have the long curving line, which is the first part, the eye of the phoenix here with the long curving, and the secondary one coming across and overlapping underneath it, or overlapping on the top. It'll have a variety of 3 different strokes, kind of creating different orchid flowers, different continuation of ideas. And then it'll have some other just examples, curving to the right, curving to the left, creating little eye of the phoenixes down here and in between, so that you can have just a variety of stuff to look at. These ones coming over from the left, different eye of the phoenix in here. 2 bunches working together, and then some orchid flowers. Excuse me, this one's going to be first. This one with the 1 or 2 or 3 smaller petals going into the stem, which is slightly closed. This one again slightly a little bit more open but still closed. And these ones up here being fully opened with the 5 petals showing. And then this one here with the stalk coming down with a couple different orchids on either side. Closer to the top they're closed, farther down they're more open. So those are the examples that you'll go through. Alright, so I'm going to get started with just some blank sheets of paper here, and we'll kind of move through each skill and show you each skill as we go through. So the first one, the long continuous line. Number 1, you're going to need your clean water in your little cup here. So get just a little bit of clean water. Then you're going to need a couple dribbles of ink on your palette. I've already got some, but just to remind you of the demonstration, you take your ink, put the straw inside, close it off with your finger, and then dribble it onto your palette. Be careful not to make a mistake like I just did and dribble it onto your paper, but I'm just going to work right through that. Then get some clean fresh water, dip your brush in, okay, and get some clean fresh water by just squeezing the bristles of your brush like that onto your palette. Sorry, you can hardly see that. And then you're going to just take a little bit of ink and make a nice medium tone or medium value wash and fill your brush up with it. And remember, holding our brush straight up and down, we make that curved line. Now this is basically taking the same idea that we learned in the bamboo with the bamboo leaf, and changing it into a longer stroke. So here's the bamboo leaf. If we said you're holding your brush straight up and down, and you're pressed down ever so slightly, then press down further, and then lighten up so that you have a tip at one end and a tip at the other end. This skill of the orchid flower, or the orchid leaf rather, is exactly the same, except it's longer and curves at the same time. So being here, I start at the bottom and I press down ever so slightly, press down harder, curve my brush, and then pull up at the end to make the final point. So you can see how I've pushed down just a little bit, push down harder, plus, and lift back up for a minus. So we've got the push down, pull up kind of motion. So this one would be just good enough for our long continuous orchid leaf. Once you get that done, move on to the next step, which is the orchid leaf with implied line. Okay, and that one is having the orchid leaf start and come up to a tip and then kind of continue on in another direction. Now this is the same thing as two bamboo leaves put together. So if I take bamboo leaf number 1 and bamboo leaf number 2, you can see that there's a space in between, simple as two bamboo leaves. But now I'm going to make them a little longer and I'm going to curve them. So here we go. If I start here at the bottom, ever so slightly push down, lift up, let go, curve down, and lift up yet again. And you can see I've implied that line here between the two, and this looks like a flowing idea from the beginning through the middle and to the end. Now if you want to, you can leave those ever so slightly connected and still have that same idea. So if I start here again and push down, lift up, and just as the brush comes up, bring that back down. So you can see I've created that same idea here with a very light pressure, push down, light pressure, turn my brush and bring it down to have that different look about it. But it's not quite empty there, but just so small that it makes the eye think that that leaf is turning to the back and around. Okay, so that's the second part of my checklist here, the long orchid leaf with the implied line. Next, we're going to the two orchid leaves crossing. Okay, and the example that I have in the packet, there's a couple different examples, but the example looks like this. It's the one long one going off and the other one that comes over and goes behind it. So that's where you have to kind of use that idea of the implied line coming through. So here's my first orchid leaf, and again pressing down and up. There's my first orchid leaf, right? Now my second orchid leaf starts kind of at the same place, and it's going to bend, curve, stop, and go behind. So here we go, pressing down, and so you've got that continuation, and it creates right here what is called the eye of the phoenix, the in-between part between two leaves. Now if I wanted to, I could continue that and do even more in-betweens by, you know, taking some other smaller leaves and putting them in. So as you get more complicated and as you change ever so slightly and add more leaves or less leaves, you'll get to a point where you have more little eye of the phoenixes. So if I continue up to the next couple examples here, you'll see here's an eye of the phoenix right here, and there's a bigger space in here, whereas here there's a little one. So you can create different feels by how big the eye of the phoenix is or how small the eye of the phoenix is. Okay, so this one, check off the eye of the phoenix. Okay, the next one, orchid bud with just opening 2 to 4 small petals. Now the petals here of our orchid flower, I'm going to kind of put these ones all together on one sheet just to kind of save on room and save on paper. So here being our orchid flower with just 2 leaves or 2 petals, maybe even a third one right back there. The difference between the orchid petal and the bamboo leaf is the bamboo leaf always kind of came from the branch down away from wherever it was starting, whether it was coming there or coming down here. It was coming away from the branch. Now the orchid leaf, or sorry, the orchid petal comes towards the center of the branch. So if I'm making the center of my branch here, that my orchid flower is there, I'm going to just pull slightly in, make a small petal, and then pull my other petal this way. and pull the two towards each other. And here's my little third petal behind. All right, a little longer. Okay, and there's my 3 little orchid leaves, and then the stem would be coming down this way. All right. Now that's just with the 2 to 4 petals, excuse me. And then that's just like a brand new bud kind of opening up. And as you get a little better at this, you can try your best to kind of mimic some of these examples. And so as you're pulling your brush, you're holding it straight up and down and pulling it towards the center of your plant. So here's one petal, another petal, third petal on the inside, fourth petal coming to the center, and my 5th petal there. So, and then this would have the stem coming down from there like that. All right. So again, looking at these, you want to do one that's got the 2 petals, the smaller bud, for our orchid, orchid with just about opening, and then the orchid fully open with 5 petals pointing in any direction. And you can see here, this is from the front, this is kind of from the side, this one the orchid's looking down, this one's the orchid is looking up. So take that as an example and kind of make those two. And the last one here would be taking the orchid and making the petals. Okay, and if I take this one and I come over here a little bit more and make my my petals here coming towards. Like that, and then I have my stem coming off this side. Your stem, this is what I'm showing you, is the sectioned stem flowing downward. So here's my stem flowing down, and you want to have a point where you just got, sorry, I'm trying to do this. Let me turn it this way so I can hold my brush here and you can still see it. Going straight down, nice and slender, and then the orchid leaf, or the orchid stem always has the next kind of branch of it coming off like this, and then you have the flower growing out of between the stems here, and you can kind of see those examples right here in our illustration here and here, and like there, it's coming out in between those 2 growing parts. Okay, so what you want to do is get through all of those things on the list and check them off. They're all exampled in your packet, so you can look through the packet and decide which ones you want to mimic and use for your own design. So going through here, once you get done, you're going to show them to me, all of the different ones. I'll tell you which ones look good, which ones don't, which ones need to be redone. And once you've finished all of these off, and I've graded you and made a little comment, you'll kind of take them all together. Okay, this being my last one. You'll take all of your different examples, okay, staple them together so we've got the final kind of packet, you know, snapped together here with your name on top so I can know who's who. And then you'll start your final your final orchid flower composition, which will be a large piece of paper similar to this one, okay, the 12 by 18. And it'll be in our next video, I'll show you how to make the different flowers and the different values of petals and the grassy area down here. Okay, so that concludes how to make the the orchid flower composition for our Sumi-e orchid lesson. Okay.